Welcome to Global Perspectives. How often does someone have the opportunity to combine Olympic gold, women's rights, and international leadership? Kayla Harrison has done all three, and she's here to tell her story.
Global Perspectives with Pulitzer Prize-winning commentator John Bercia.
Welcome to the show, Kayla.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'd like to go way back to when you were small and maybe not even thinking about careers, but what took you in the direction of the martial arts and some of the things that have shaped your life?
Well, my mother took judo in college as a self-defense course, and when I was little, I was sort of just like this rambunctious, wild child who needed some discipline. And my mother also wanted me to learn self-defense, so she took me to the local dojo, and I sort of just fell in love with judo right away. I loved everything about it, the culture of it, the respect, bowing, throwing the boys around. I loved all of it.
And so when did you make a commitment to pursue that for at least a good part of your career?
Well, I wasn't very good to begin with, but I was stubborn. And I would say, I got better and better, but by the time I was 12 years old, I knew I wanted to be an Olympian. And then by the time I was 16, I knew that I wanted to be Olympic champion.
And I guess you have to develop that mindset so that you can set the goal and then really, really work toward it.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people say, oh, I'd like to be an Olympian, but you've done it
Yeah.
a couple of times at the gold level, so this is great.
It's definitely, one of my favorite sayings about the Olympics is it's not every 4 years, it's every day. And that's something that you have to really truly embody. It's every time you hit the snooze button, it's every time you open the fridge, it's every time you do that extra push-up or run that extra mile. So for me, it's sort of just become a way of life, and now I'm very fortunate that I can take all the lessons I've learned from being an Olympic athlete and translate them into my life off the mat.
How did you first develop your focus? Because taking on adversaries and beating them doesn't just happen. I mean, it's training, it's perseverance, all of those things.
I don't know really. I mean, at a young age, I wasn't super confident or super skilled. But slowly, sort of success bred success. I had a little bit of, I won a tournament, and then I won another tournament, and then it sort of just started building. And it was only because I surrounded myself with people with like-minded goals and who also wanted to be the best in the world that I was able to sort of reach the pinnacle.
And a lot of times successful athletes don't always talk about the fear factor, because you have to overcome that, especially if you're doing engagement type sports. And I had someone who told me recently that she had taken boxing lessons, and it was great until it actually came to the point where she had to fight someone and then she just didn't like it anymore.
Yeah.
So how do you...
Well, I can relate to her because I've started boxing for my next career, and I can tell you, once you get in that ring, everything you thought you knew goes out the window. But it's really, I think it's just a mindset, and it's just the mindset of a champion. It's nothing's going to stop me. This is my day. This is my purpose. I'm not afraid to win. And truly going out there and believing that no matter what happens, you sacrificed and gave everything you could towards that goal.
Now, Ronda Rousey is someone you've worked with for a long time, and she preceded you in terms of Olympic competitions. How did you meet her, and how did that develop into a partnership, a friendship?
Well, Ronda was training at the Pedros in Boston when I moved there. So we were roommates, we were teammates, and we were training partners. So I grew up fighting one of the best in the world, and I think, like I said before, surrounding yourself with people like that helps to bring out the success in you. And so I've known her since I was a little girl, but we lived together when I was 16 for quite some time, and sort of just developed what we call it, we're frenemies. We're friends, but we're enemies, because we have such a strong competitive nature.
Is there something you can tell us about her that wouldn't compromise your sense of confidentiality? Because she seems to be so fierce in her public roles, but a lot of people say that she's got this good heart and she's just a nice person.
She is a nice person. I think people get the wrong idea because, one, the media, and two, in order to be an athlete and in order to be successful as an athlete, you have to be a selfish person. That's no different than me, that's no different than Michael Phelps, that's no different than any athlete. You have to be selfish if you want to achieve your goals. But for some reason, being a woman and being selfish aren't always considered good qualities.
But in her case, and in your case, I'm guessing it's working.
Well, it doesn't really matter what people think if you're successful, right?
If you're successful, exactly. Do you have that are you developing that trademark snarl or face that so many people seem to have, and you always see it coming, and then they pose for just a second, and then the camera
Yeah, no, I
snap.
definitely don't have it yet.
Is that something that you're
Well, I'm working on just becoming,
proficient in?
proficient in fighting, and then I'll let that do the talking, and I can smile afterwards. But I don't really have a mean face, or I guess my face is more just intensely focused, I think you would say, but I don't have a snarl down yet.
The prep that you're doing for the next phase of your career, is that something you can talk about, or?
Yeah, I mean, after the Olympics, I sort of was left with what now, what next, and I was extremely depressed. I didn't have a goal, didn't know what I was going to do with myself, and the World Series of Fighting sort of gave me this opportunity to, I signed a 4-fight contract deal with them, but not only am I going to fight, I've also become a commentator for them. So they're on NBC Sports Network, and I commentate all of the fights and analyze and do in-cage interviews, and sort of am starting to grow my resume outside of the cage and outside of the mat, while also training to perhaps one day go into the cage.
That seems like it would give you a real advantage, seeing it, commentating, and then prepping.
Huge advantage. It's been really helpful in trying to decide if I want to do it or not.
Let's back up a little bit because we got into that so quickly. But growing up, was it a straight shot in terms of the martial arts training? Did you have any obstacles along the way? Any adjustments you needed to make?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's no secret that I was sexually abused by my first coach, so that was definitely a big obstacle that I had to overcome in order to be successful. But again, it's just something that, if you decide that it doesn't define you, it doesn't. And I was very fortunate to be around people like the Pedros, people like Rhonda, people like my old teammates who sort of picked me back up when I was broken and made me whole again.
Talk to us about the immense courage it takes to bring that conversation to other people, and maybe, how, without getting into specifics, how you accomplish that and were able to get back on track. And I think this makes you a natural leader in terms of women's rights generally. I mean, you can talk to these things from experience and also from the perspective of a survivor, someone who thrived afterward.
Yeah. It's difficult. I mean, that was the hardest day in my life, the day that I finally said something. And for a long time, I dealt with the guilt and the shame and sort of the fear that a lot of victims go through. But again, I can't speak highly enough of my new coaches, the Pedros, because not only did they change my life, but they saved my life. And they made it so that I could become a strong, confident young woman and have the courage to speak up and have the courage to stand up and say something. And hopefully, my goal is now to be what the Pedros were to me, to someone else.
And the person who disrupted your life went to prison.
Yep, he was serving 10 years in federal prison.
Mm-hmm. And how do you start a conversation with young people, especially if you suspect that they may be having some of these same issues? What is the best way to reach them and encourage them to talk about it?
That's a really good question. And one of the things that I'm doing right now to try and help with that is I'm writing a book with a psychologist from McLean Hospital.
I was going to ask you that, so this is great.
And the book is really, initially I wanted it to be sort of like an educational piece. I wanted it to be in the 7th grade health class curriculum. I wanted kids to have to hear my story, know what grooming is, know what this is, know what being in the silence is like. But now I think really I want it to be a conversation piece. So I want it to be in the health class, but I also want caretakers to have to read it. I want parents to read it. I want doctors and teachers and police officers to read it, because I think that it will really help those conversations. And one of the things that's really important that we talk about in the book is just, not being afraid to have the conversation. So many parents are still afraid to talk to their kids. Like maybe they sense something is off, or maybe they fear something might not be right, but they don't want to push too hard, which is something that my mother and I struggled with. She would ask me and I would just, deny. And it's important that you don't ever stop trying to have the conversation. No matter how many times a child says something, if you truly believe something is going on, you're better off saying something than not.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of times the parents don't want to pry just in case they're wrong and there's
Right.
suspicion,
Right.
because that can cause
I
other
mean,
issues.
you know, what if you're wrong? It's awful, but what if you're right? So
And she was the person you went to?
I actually told a teammate first, and then he made me call my mom, and that was when the FBI got involved, and we pressed charges, and sort of everything happened so fast. But my mom was very strong in the sense that she chose to press charges and not just sort of, you know, tuck it away.
No, that was the practice in so many countries, including this one, for
For
forever.
a very long time.
And
We're
as
still
if-
seeing the repercussions of it today.
Yeah, and it was always cast in this context of embarrassment and shame and everything else, which is ridiculous. Somebody's being hurt, and it has to
Exactly.
come out.
Exactly. I think that's the one thing that a lot of people don't understand is that, you know, I have no visible wounds. I have no scratches, no marks, no broken bones, no black eyes, but I am wounded, you know, I am scarred on the inside, and that's something that takes a long, long time to heal. And the only way you can heal it is by talking about it. And the only way you can talk about it is if you have the courage to say, this is a problem, this is an epidemic in our society, and we do have to do something to try and stop it.
And I would imagine, because you're strong and visible and fierce and all of that, it's even harder for people to understand that you.
Yeah, I
you-
think it's probably confusing to them at times, but, you know, I wasn't always like this. I mean, I think that I wish sometimes that I had video of me as a 16-year-old girl, or, you know, me in baggy sweatpants with my eyes downcast and no confidence. And I wish that I could show people like a before and after almost. You know, this is what I was and this is what I have become. And it's not because of what happened to me, but in spite of what happened to me.
Well, and I think you're giving a very, very good description of it now. So even if they can't see it, they can hear it and
Yeah.
they can visualize. So let's maybe fast forward a little bit. So now you're seriously focused on Olympic competition. When did you first sense that it was within reach?
Well, I made the Olympic trials at 14, but I didn't compete. And then at 16, I moved to Boston to train with the Pedros. And, you know, Jimmy was the most decorated athlete, you know, 2-time Olympic bronze medalist, world champion. His father was the coach of, you know, probably hundreds of national champions and the last medalist from 20 years. So he was sort of, it was the place to go if you wanted to be successful. And it was sort of like a last-ditch effort, last stop on the train. I didn't know if I was going to be successful. I didn't know if I even wanted to do judo anymore. But through the Pedros and through sort of just little tiny successes, just small moments, I was able to sort of become who I am. You know, it wasn't like instantaneously I was Olympic champion material, but slowly, surely, over the course of 6 years, I was able to get there.
And which of the competitions did you first attend, the Olympic competitions?
I went to 2008 as a training partner for Rhonda.
Oh, so you saw her.
So I got to go and see her win her Olympic. I think that was really a big moment for me too, because I got to watch her win an Olympic bronze medal, and I got to watch the American flag go up, and I was just like, it kind of clicked in my head, like, well, if she can do it, you know, I train with her every night, like, why can't I? And so in 2008, I went there, and in 2008, later that summer, I won the Junior World Championships, which is sort of an indicator of who's who in the next generation. And then in 2010, I won the World Championships, and that was really the moment when people were like, okay, we need to pay attention to this girl. And then in 2012, I went on to become Olympic champion. So it all
So-
worked out according to plan.
According to plan. So forgive me if I don't have the terminology right, but are you a 6th degree
I am a
black belt?
6th-degree black
And
belt.
are you the youngest person in this country to achieve that?
I am. Yeah, I just
Okay, I
recently
got
got
that right.
promoted. Yeah, I just recently got promoted after the last Olympics, which was super exciting.
So what is the standard for being elevated to that point?
Well, usually you have to have time and grade. So, you know, for instance, my coach Jimmy has been promoted to 7th-degree black belt, and he's 45. And his father, who's 70, just got his 8th-degree black belt.
And does it have an end point?
10th.
10, okay.
But usually, you know, you get your 6th degree when you're in your like 30s or 40s. So I'm ahead of schedule,
You are ahead of schedule, my gosh.
which is good.
So what did that feel like?
It was exciting. You know, I wasn't expecting it. It wasn't something, not that I don't put emphasis on rank, but, you know, I always sort of focus on the sport aspect of it. So my mind wasn't in it, but I realize now sort of what an honor it is and how important it's going to be for my legacy. You know, 6th-degree black belt is considered the teaching rank. So it's considered, okay, you've shown us that what you can accomplish in judo, but now it's time for you to carry on and to spread your judo knowledge. So for me, it was a great opportunity and a great indicator of my time as a competitor is done, but my time in judo will never be done.
You said that happened after the 2016 Olympics. Set the scene for us in 2016 going into it. Where were you mentally? Where were you in terms of the competition? Did you expect the win?
Well, mentally, I was pretty much a mess. I'm not going to lie. I was just very anxious. I felt like all eyes were on me. I felt an enormous sense of pressure. And it was eating at me almost every day. I struggled to sleep. I was very restless. I was like on pins and needles. People didn't like, they steered clear of me, you know, because I was super feisty. But I knew that I hadn't put in all of that work and suffered through all of that training and a reconstructed knee and everything that I had been through to just go out there and lose. You know, I knew that I wanted to make it worth it, and I knew that I had the capabilities of winning. It was just about believing in myself. So on the day of the Olympics, you know, I put all of that fear and doubt aside, and I said, you know what? Let's just go have some fun. Let's go show them what you're made of.
It's refreshing to hear this conversation because a lot of times the winners, especially in sports competitions, just talk about the win and, oh yeah, I was always confident. And they don't talk about
It's not true, trust me.
And you know it's part of the human makeup to go through those different emotions.
I think if you're not scared, you don't care, you know? I mean, part of being an Olympic champion and being a champion in general is being able to be scared, but still put it all on the line.
Well, and I had a very wise advisor many, many years ago who said to me, if you don't have an element of maybe not fear, but at least discomfort in whatever you do, it affects your edge.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what keeps you focused and your eyes on the prize.
Definitely. Someone once said to me, we grow at the edges of our experience, and discomfort doesn't mean unhappy. And it's true. You know, I have no desire to be comfortable. I want to be successful and I want to be happy, which are two different things but lead down the same path. So putting it all on the line and defending my title was something that I knew was going to bring me peace and happiness, and it did.
Well, that's good. And you talked about the teaching aspect of judo, and I can sense just from chatting with you that you already are teaching about the other issues that have shaped your life. But after the next phase, whatever it is, whatever it turns out to be, do you have plans beyond that, or do you just think, because a lot of people plan their lives the way you play pools. I mean, if you're playing position and they're always thinking, you know, 3 or 4 or 5, and I don't see how that's possible with a life because it's so unpredictable.
Well, life is messy, isn't it?
It's messy.
You know, it's not predictable and it's not always easy. I mean, I think I have a general idea of how I would want my life to go, but I understand that things happen and everything happens for a reason. So I'm on a path, but that path may change a week from now, tomorrow, a year from now, or 10 years from now. But, you know, my philosophy is always, I wake up every day and I try to be the best possible version of myself. And that brings me true happiness, and that brings me true peace.
You've done, obviously, extraordinarily well as an athlete, as a speaker. And as a result of those successes, you are at a relatively young age a symbol for women, not just in the United States, but internationally.
Thank you.
What does that feel like to have, some call it the burden of international leadership, some call it the opportunity, some call it both, but does that inspire you? And
Absolutely.
Where do you think you could go with that particular
Well, I mean,
role?
I think it's very, you know, it fires me up. I mean, there's one thing about being an athlete, you know, I think we thrive in the pressure. And for me, you know, I've always wanted to be here. I've always wanted to be in this chapter of my life. I've always wanted to be successful, and I've always wanted people to listen to me, and now they are. So what I do with that and how I choose to use that is very important to me, and it's a responsibility I don't take lightly. And I'm honored and I'm humbled by it, but I also plan to use it to affect change in the world.
When you're speaking to an audience about all of your issues, experiences, and so forth, Do you ever have a sense that you're talking to someone who may be going through the same types
Absolutely.
of things? Can you intuitively sense that?
It's
from
not just
some of them?
intuition. I mean, 1 in 6 girls and 1 in 4 boys will be sexually abused by the time they're 18. So chances are that it's not just me in the room every time I speak. And I think about that, and I think about, you know, hopefully what I say to them will give them hope. Hopefully what I say to them will give them courage. And hopefully what I say to them will give them a chance to understand that you're only a victim if you allow yourself to be.
You had mentioned the book earlier in the discussion. Can you talk about that a little bit? About
Sure. What would you like to know?
I would. What inspired the idea to go ahead and write it, and then the main focus,
Yeah.
and what
Well,
kind of
so it's-
publication schedule you're on?
A strict one. It turns out throwing people is easier than writing about my past. So the book really is just, it's a cautionary tale. And our idea was to use my story as a guideline to not only talk about what happens when you're sexually abused and, you know, those wounds that I talk about that you can't see, but also to talk about ways to prevent it. What parents should be doing, what kind of conversations they should be having, what grooming looks like, and where kids can get help if they are going through something like that, and who they can trust and who they can talk to. So again, I want, it's an educational piece, but it's also, I hope, will be an inspirational piece. You know, I want people to realize that not only can you survive, but you can thrive. And sometimes there really is a light at the end of the tunnel, or a shiny gold medal, and maybe even 2 shiny gold medals. So.
And is the manuscript finished?
I
pretty
have the
much?
rough draft in my bag, and I'm reading it right now, actually. But it has a lot of work to be done still. It's going to be hopefully published next year, early spring. That's our target. So we have to have the manuscript finished by September. But my partner, Cynthia Kaplan, is just a wrecking ball. Like, she is like, she calls herself my new sensei. So like, she'll text me daily like, have you worked on chapter 7? Have you worked on chapter 8? How's it going with chapter 3 rewrites? Like, she's all over me, which is good because I need that kind of push, especially when I'm writing about things like this. You know, it's definitely not, it's not easy. So, but I'm super excited to be working with her, and I really do think that this book is very unique and will hopefully have an impact on our society in a big way.
Some people say that the first chapter is the hardest one to write. Some say it's the last. Some say it's the whole book. What was your experience?
The first chapter wasn't so hard to write. It was really when I got to the middle of my life and sort of in the silence. Those are just moments in time that I haven't thought about in so long. And rereading my diaries from those ages, you know, I felt really bad for me back then because I was so scared and so alone and struggling so much with everything that was going on. And if anything, you know, it's extremely hard to read, but it gives me hope that if someone reads my diary entries, you know, that are in the book, maybe they won't have to write entries like that of their own. Maybe it'll give them the courage they need to speak up.
Well, we thank you so much for joining us today to discuss all of these things. We wish you luck with the next phase of your career and with the book. And thank you so much, Kayla Harrison,
Thank you. Thank you so
joining
much
us.
for having me. It's been my pleasure.
And thank you. For Global Perspectives, I'm John Bercia. We'll see you next time.